Hey, everybody, and welcome to Generally Speaking, the podcast that bridges the worlds of pop culture and personal development. I'm your host, Jennifer Snook. I am honestly so happy to be here with you today. I hope everything has been going well in your world. Before we get into all the dirty details about what's happening in mine and everything else that's going on, if you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure you reach out and smash that subscribe button. Thank you very much. We would appreciate that. As you can see, I am fully in Christmas mode. I mean, it is getting close, you guys. And to be honest, I have not purchased a single present, and we can't even dive into that right now because it just spins my skull. I have so much to do. But I did this week have 901 had our Christmas party, and that was so much fun. I did a little behind the scenes video. So if you guys want to see that, you can check it out on my social media. It's on TikTok. It's on my Instagram. Anyway, we had the best time. And I thought that I was going to be doing I thought that I was going to be doing my Christmas shopping today, you guys, but I'm not. Hi, come here. Instead, I'm dog sitting my grand dog Burger. Oh, and look, and here's my Albie. Oh, Jelly. But isn't he cute, you guys? He actually looks like my Taylor. Oh, you're cute. He's adorable. He slept with me last night. He is just such a little cuddler. Anyway, he's going to be doing the drive up to the bay with us. It's going to be 4 of us plus the 2 dogs heading up to the bay. I have someone coming to watch the house, and I've been kind of debating on having them just, watch the dogs while we're gone. But my Taylor is not having it. She wants to have her little guy with her, and I fully get that. How is your holiday shopping going? That's what I want to know. Leave that in the comments. I want to know if you guys are done with your holiday shopping, or if I'm the only schmuck that's waited this long. I'm telling you guys, I need like 3 more hours in every day and 2 more days in the week. And I feel like then I would be caught up. But anyway, enough about Christmas. We need to talk hot topics, you guys, because there are so much happening this week in the world of reality and in very much our reality as humans on this planet. So strange shit happening. Anyway, you guys, let's start with Jersey and Andy coming out and saying that Jersey is not going to be back until 2026, which... you know what that means? That just means a lot more brunches with Teresa and a lot more TikTok lives, because she's going to have to really hustle to compensate for that paycheck that she's so used to getting. Anyway, speaking of Teresa, what about, I need to make sure I do. Look, I'm telling you, it's like I just can't help but get lipstick on my teeth. It's just such a constant battle with me. Anyway, what about Melissa Gorga and the sprinkle cookies, and the fact that she was on Watch What Happens Live the other night and was so well received by Andy? And I really, really think that she did well that night, her and Joe both. I mean, everything just kind of seemed to lean in their favor. Both the polls, one of them was, which husband would you want to be under the mistletoe with? And Joe Gorga fully won that. And then it was the age-old question, not really age-old in my world, but in Jersey world. Which cookie is your favorite, the sprinkle cookie or the pignoli cookie? Which honestly, I looked at those pignoli cookies and they kind of grossed me out. They kind of look like they have fleas on them. Anyway, that's just my own sickness. I don't even like driving by. There's probably a word for this, you guys, but when you drive by a bunch of beautiful mountains and you see trees on them, I just always think it looks like a fungus, and I don't like the way it looks. Anyway, same thing for me with those pignoli cookies. I just wasn't into them. I will take a sprinkle cookie any day over that. Plus, I thought it was interesting that Andy referred to Melissa as New Jersey's own Melissa Gorga. Just saying. On another note, Mauricio has been spotted kissing another model in Aspen, and this one's name is Claudia Kay, who is apparently 33 years old, the same age as Nikita Khan, who was the model that he was seen making out with at the airport in Greece. So 33 is clearly, I don't know, his lucky number. Real bad news for James Kennedy, you guys, and not just the domestic violence arrest. I mean, that was bad enough, really bad, right? I mean, that's huge. But now we learn that Bravo has launched an investigation into James and purported violence against 3 separate women. So I'm sure one of them is Kristen, but then there was the Raquel of it all. I'm not sure who the third one was, but The fact that Bravo is opening this inquiry now on James just does not bode well for his future on any Bravo show. And I feel like when it comes to Bravo, his ship has sunk after this. And now I'm just wondering how long it's going to take Raquel to reach out to Allie, right? She probably has already hit her up in the DMs. We also have a big exit on our hands, everybody. Brynn Whitfield of The Real Housewives of New Jersey reboot has officially left the building. Brynn released a statement that said, "After 2 incredible seasons, I made the difficult decision to step away from The Real Housewives of New York. This journey has been one of the most rewarding, wild, and unforgettable experiences of my life. I'm so grateful to Bravo, the crew, my castmates, and the fans who've supported me along the way. Sometimes you know when it's time for a new chapter, and for me, that time is now. I'm excited to focus on my personal growth, new opportunities, and maybe even a little less drama, just a little." So, I mean, that was unexpected. I definitely wasn't expecting an early exit from Brynn, for sure. Anyway, you guys, did you see those videos? I mean, I'm telling you, somewhere Karen Huger is shitting her pants right now. Because the fact that those have come out, those, what do you call it, body cam, that cop's body cam came out, and it showed what an absolute blooming lunatic Karen was during that whole arrest. I mean, it was bad. It was so bad. So if you don't know, Karen was arrested for crossing over a median and crashing her car. And then lo and behold, come to find out, she was indeed drunk. We know that. She got arrested for a DUI. But she wasn't just drunk, you guys. I'm talking she was stupid, crazy, out of her mind drunk. And then when they took her down to booking, she started giving the guy the officer that was, you know, transporting her, started giving him the whole, "Do you know who I am?" bullshit. "They call me the Grand Dame." And he's like, "Huh?" And she's like, "Yeah, they call me the Grand Dame. Andy Cohen gave me that title." I mean, she says, "That's how people refer to me." And he's probably thinking, "I'm just going to refer to you as a jailbird." I mean, there is no way. And anyway, now apparently she's facing 2 years in jail. So, and then her attorney released a statement saying that they were very disappointed in how things have turned out. But like, they should really be thanking their freaking lucky stars about how everything turned out. Because if you see how drunk she is on that video, it's like a miracle that she didn't like mow a whole bunch of people down. She was fully out of her mind. Fully out of her mind. She was cussing at the cop. She was cussing at the cop. She was cussing at this cop, that cop. And then there's Miss Teddy Mellencamp, who was once again spotted with a horse trainer, which honestly, I don't think should come as a surprise to anyone, because I don't think Teddy was just like sport fucking. You know what I mean? Like, there are people in the world that are just like, that's who they are. They just like, I don't think that's what Teddy was after. I think it was more than that. I don't think she would have, you know, like sacrificed her entire family for just like a booty call. I think that this guy probably means something to her, and this isn't the last time that we're going to see them together. And then there's Mary Cosby, you guys, the great Mary Cosby, who has given us an update on Robert Jr. Apparently he stayed in rehab longer than like the standard, you know, like the minimum is usually 30 days. But he stayed in longer because he wanted to, which is always a good sign. And now he's living with his dad, so he won't be around, you know, the same triggers and the same circumstances. Mary says that Robert doesn't know if him and the girlfriend are technically married. He's not sure of that now. And that the only way they're going to find out is if they break into his safe, you guys. But they don't have the code. Like maybe in his, you know, altered state, he forgot the code that he programmed into that. So maybe there's a marriage certificate in there. Maybe there's not. We will see. And last but not least, you guys, I am so happy to announce that Erika Jayne is indeed going back to Broadway, even though Garcelle said that they would never ask her back. They have asked her back, and she is going back for an encore performance of Roxy Hart, which is the character she played in Chicago, which happens to be what I just named my new car, Roxy Hart, because she is one of my favorite characters. I mean, and as a stage performer, it's just such a dream role. And as someone that knows Erika, I mean, I know that this is just in her blood. She loves it. She lives it. And I could not be happier for her. But here's what we really need to talk about, okay? Yesterday, I think it was yesterday that I started looking into this or becoming aware. Can we talk about the drones? Now, I know that Bethany is talking a lot about the drones, and thank God she is, quite frankly, because I mean, that's how I learned about them. I think everybody needs to be talking about this. I'm in California, as you know, and I know that so much of the chatter about this has been happening on the East Coast, but it is here too. Not only is it here, it is in Beijing. It is all over the world, you guys. Can we talk about these drones that they're calling drones, but they don't look like the kind of drones that you and I know? And no one's claiming these drones, you guys, because I don't think anyone that we know can claim these drones, because I don't think they are of an earthly type of origin. I really don't. And I think that all those years, we've all wondered if we're ever going to really have any tangible evidence of any extraterrestrial activity. I think it is happening right now. I think Bethany is totally on the money. There is something very peculiar and bananas happening. We've seen these things come in and out of the water. Where are they parking all of them? These drones all over. I mean, the lights, what do they call them? The plasmoids. I mean, the plasmoids are what? The plasmoids they're saying are entities. So anyway, I don't know. I don't know where we're going to go with this. I don't know what is happening, but it really feels like something very real is going on. Very real that they don't want to talk about. The fact that they have restricted certain areas, and they've given strict instructions for no one to fly there, made them fully no-fly zones. And yet, I mean, here's, 20 drones flying where they're not supposed to be flying. You know, that would never happen. That would never happen. And I don't know if it's true that Biden and Harris both aborted their missions to go and spend Christmas in their respective home states to head back to the White House so that they could, confer on what the hell to do in this situation. But it is all very suspicious, and I am just proceeding. I don't know. It's at this point, you guys, truthfully, what are we gonna do? Like, if that's the case, and I mean, is that why they're not reporting it? Because you know that if someone comes out and says, well, actually, those aren't just drones, those are unidentified flying objects. Like, if someone actually says that they are from extraterrestrial sources, you're going to send this whole world into an absolute conniption fit. But I mean, I don't know. Does that mean that then we all come together? Haven't we said that before, that it would take an external threat for the division in this country and this world to then unite against a force greater, right? But I mean, how do we even know that they are wanting to cause us any harm? Maybe they're not. I mean, maybe it's just, I don't know. Maybe they're just going to come and hang out. I don't know what's happening, you guys, but something is happening. And I'm thanking Bethany in big ways for opening my eyes to what in God's name is going on. But anyway, in lighter news, you guys, it's time for reality check. So let's start in Beverly Hills. After all the tension in Oceanside, the ladies are back in Beverly Hills, and Jennifer is giving Kyle a tour of one of her many homes. The two of them are then joined by Sutton. The three of them are sitting around, and Kyle talks about her diamonds and denim party. And then she goes on to talk about the fact that, it's going to be weird and strange to be doing a party for the first time without Mauricio. Then Erica goes over to see Dorit, and the two of them are both still reeling from all the stress that went down in Oceanside. They rehash all the dirty details, because they were really dirty. They rehash everything that went down, and Erica at this point is still very much playing the part of peacekeeper between Dorit and Kyle. Dorit says that Sutton is the last person that should be leading a sisterhood pact. Then Garcelle wrangles Sutton into helping her schlep a bunch of shit from her house, which I think is in Simi, over to her beach house in Oxnard. So Sutton pulls up driving a U-Haul dressed like Rosie the Riveter. They load everything up that needs to go, and then they head to the beach in Oxnard, which, trust me, is no Malibu. It's no Santa Barbara, but it's still beautiful. It's the beach in California. And, owning anywhere in California is a huge feat. So congrats to Garcelle. And from the outside, you guys, the beach house looked great. The door, she was talking about how much she loved that front door. I loved that front door. It was great. I did. But dear God, did you see the kitchen? who dropped the ball? It was big ball, and it got dropped. Then Garcelle and Sutton go to have a chat up on the upper level about everything that's going down with Dorit. And Sutton says, we're going to have to rally around her because shit is going south. And that's when Garcelle brings up the robbery. And she says, you know, last year when I talked about the robbery, I don't think that Dorit was in on her robbery, but I think someone was. And like, is she implying that it was PK? Strange. I mean, can you even imagine that if by chance some fucking in some alternate universe, I feel like that's what we're living right now with all this drone shit. But can you imagine if in some alternate universe, that guy thought that it would be a good idea and he hired guys to break into his house, terrify his wife, and leave her cell phone, make sure nothing happens to her, and leave the cell phone outside? I mean, that is the kind of stuff that you could never get over. You could never forgive him. I mean, that would be it for me. I am such a forgiving person that would 100%, I can't even wrap my head around it. Then over at Erica's, she gets a visit from her shrink, and the two of them unpack a lot of the dynamic between her and Sutton. Erica can't really figure out why she's so triggered by Sutton, and the shrink says it's because she's always trying to tell you what you should be doing. Meanwhile, she hasn't walked a minute in your shoes, let alone a mile. Erica says that for the last 3 years, she's been insulating herself and just trying to survive. But now she's rounding the corner and is finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. But she still can't understand why Sutton is so supportive of Kyle while she's been going through her struggles when she wasn't even remotely as considerate or concerned about Erica when she was going through hers. Then it's time to cowboy up for Kyle's diamonds and denim party. Camille Grammer, you guys, God help us. Camille Grammer isn't even there for 2 minutes before she tries to compare the end of her marriage to the end of Kyle's. Yes, I said that. The end of her marriage to the end of Kyle's. Another one, Delulu. Kyle says to camera, nice try, but not even close. The girls all get there and everybody looks gorgeous. Bose has just gotten back from Brazil on a trip with her daughter. And honestly, as soon as I see her, I melt. She is truthfully still, I mean, I know we're only like a few episodes in now, but I'm telling you, every time she comes on the screen, I'm just like, give me more Bose. Garcelle sits down to get a tattoo. And while she's getting inked, she tells Sutton that she had a great talk with Kyle. And that Kyle actually told her that PK texts her. Texas. What she's trying to say is text. And it really drives me crazy. Listen, everybody, the plural of the word text is just text. It's not Texas, right? Okay? Text, not Texas. Texas is a state where my oldest daughter happens to live and where there has been a whole lot of drone activity, to be honest, because you guys, those drones, they're hanging out over military bases. I'm going to keep talking about this, you guys, because it has really seeped into my psyche because, I mean, for a lot of reasons, but it's so fucking wild. Bo sits down with Dorit and Erica for a recap about what went down on the Sprinter in Oceanside. Dorit and Erica explain that Sutton's friendship has been inconsistent over the years, and Bose asked them if she should arrange a tribal council meeting so they can all gather around and talk about this. They both say yes. Then they flash back to Oceanside and Garcelle saying that when Bose and Dorit were having their conversation, everyone else felt so left out. And Bose just very matter-of-factly says, not everything is for everyone. And high five. So Bose gets the girls to gather around and Sutton immediately steps up and says, you know, I have to do it. I'm sorry, but I just don't want us to be so disjointed. I really meant what I said in Oceanside. Sisterhood, honesty. And I feel like we're all talking behind each other's backs, and I really want us to feel free and open and honest with each other. And then Erica says, and this is why I love Erica, because she's, you know, here's the deal with Erica. She doesn't overplay it. She's just straight. She's not even like a bitch about it. She's not trying to get at anyone. She's just laying it all out there as it is. She says, you know, the sisterhood stuff is great. I love all of that. But one thing I'd like to say to you, though, is that you are volatile and inconsistent. It's great. And then it gets flipped on its head. And then to camera, Jen Tilly pipes up and says, Erica's description of Sutton was actually quite accurate. And then Sutton's face turns to stone, you guys, and she goes, no, I'm truthful, and I was just calling something out. Dorit says, but sometimes you overreact when you're stressed. And then Sutton fully loses her shit. Wait a minute. And Dorit says, please don't raise your voice. I'm not in a place where I appreciate that. And Sutton says, well, do you know how many times I have been in a place where I haven't appreciated people in this group yelling at me? Erica says, well, have you given any thought to what you did to incite that yell? And then in hushed tones, Sutton says, hang on, then I'm going to talk very softly to you. And Dorit says, just talk normal. Don't raise your voice. And at this point, Sutton is fully performing, you guys. And Dorit says, see, you can't be real and honest, so you can't be in charge. You can't lead the charge if you're not being real and authentic. Then Kyle asks Sutton what she's actually trying to say, and Sutton says that we can be honest. And Erica says, well, then lead by example. And she says, I'm trying to. And Dorit says, no, you're not. You're talking the talk, but you're not walking the walk. And Sutton says, I'm trying to. And Dorit says, are you? And Dorit says, here we go. And Sutton says, here we go. And the two of them get into, once again, this teenage bickering match that's just ridiculous. But it is a testament to the fact that that's exactly what Sutton's trying to do. And she says, I'm trying, because she's acting, right? I'm trying to do this. It's not natural. It doesn't come from an authentic place in her. She's not a leader in any way, shape, or form. No leader cares that much about their perception. No leader cares that much about what people are saying about them. They just do the right thing. They trust their truth, and they move forward with that. Dorit says, see, you are not genuine. This is not real. You are not kind. Sutton says, this is as real as it gets. And I'm thinking, I'm sure it is. Dorit says, is it? Is this really real? Ladies and gentlemen, meet the real Sutton Strap. Sutton says, you're angry, but you're not angry with me. It's not my fault that you're in the place that you're in. And Dorit says, it's no secret that I'm not in a good place. My life sucks right now. And then Erica tells Sutton not to say stuff that she'll regret. And Dorit says, I'm actually being open and honest and transparent. I'm the one that's really going through it. And I just have zero tolerance for any more bullshit. It's as simple as that. So what else, Sutton? Sutton says, I'm not mad at you. I raised my voice in the sprinter because you weren't getting the bigger point. It wasn't about you. It was about all of us knowing that even after an argument, we can still be friends. Then Bose, with her very wonderful way, steps into the conversation and says, well, if that's the case, then we also can't weaponize moments of vulnerability, which, I mean, so true, right? And Sutton says, who's weaponizing? And Bose says, you just did. And it's really not fair. And then, oh my God, Delulu herself, the queen of Delulu, Camille Grammer, who I'm always going to call her Camille Grammer. Miss Camille Grammer inserts herself into the conversation, and she goes, I'm sorry to butt in, but many years ago, my house burnt down. I lost my house, and I lost my assistant of many, many years. And I really didn't get a lot of compassion from this group, especially Dorit. And Dorit, right out of the gate, looks at her and goes, honey, you were a total C-U-N-T to me. You were a total C-U-N-T to me. And everybody is shocked, you guys. Everybody's like, what? Everybody's mouth, everybody's jaw is on the floor. They cannot believe what they've just heard. And Camille says, you called me a fucking C-U-N-T. And Dorit says, I called you a stupid C-U-N-T. And I did it as a joke. And you knew that. And then to camera, Dorit says, once upon a time, I actually regretted the fact that I called Camille a C-U-N-T. But now I actually feel like Camille is a stupid fucking C-U-N-T. And now at this point, Camille goes full drama, and it feels like she is clearly auditioning at this point. She goes, I did not know, but I found out afterwards. And I'm just thinking to myself, well, if you found out afterwards, so if you knew like 10 years ago, you may have not found out like at that moment, but say you found out like, I don't know, the next day, we're still around the 10-year mark. So why are we bringing it up now? Why are we talking about this now? I mean, can someone explain that to me? Dorit says, you knew, you always knew, but you decided to use this because you needed a moment. You always need a moment, Camille. Camille says, oh, really? Coming from the person who takes selfies for hours. They all have to wait for you. You make them all wait. And Dorit goes, do you need a moment? Do you need a moment? What are you even doing here, Camille? And Camille says, I feel sorry for you. I've always felt sorry for you. Even from the first time that you came over to my house with, and she looks at Erica and goes, her. And she clearly can't remember Erica's name. So Erica says, Erica, my name is Erica. Then very seriously, Dorit looks to camera and says, I don't think Sutton cares a single bit about how I'm feeling or what I'm going through. I think that she just cares about looking like she's kind and empathetic. And I could not agree more. And it is clear at this point that Dorit just has nothing to lose. I feel like their life for so long has kind of been like a house of cards, and they've just been keeping all these balls in the air. And I think PK just got exhausted. He gave up. He can't do it anymore. He can't keep them both accustomed to the lifestyle. And so I think he is out, and I think that she is kind of panicking. And I think that that's why she just doesn't have time for bullshit anymore, because she's like down to brass tacks. She wants to know, like, where are we? Where am I in my life? How much money do I have? How much money do I not have? I think poor Dorit is in a real predicament at this point. And but you know, I mean, from the ashes we rise, and she will too. All right, you guys, moving over to Real Housewives of Salt Lake City in this episode, which I like to call The Fatal Flaw. That wasn't the title, but it should have been. The snowflakes are still in Mexico, and I'm telling you guys, this episode, I mean, this shit was heavy and revealing, very revealing. We learned a lot about the true dynamics of Bronwyn and Todd's relationship. And it's a lot. The show starts light and fun with Angie and Whitney and Heather attempting to do water aerobics at the hotel pool, which truthfully I have never done in my entire life. I have never participated in a hotel pool activity like that. But now I'm thinking that maybe, is that like a sign of age? Is that how you know you're getting old, when you're ready to do like water aerobics in the hotel pool? Maybe. Anyway, the fun doesn't last long, because then they start talking about everything that went down with Bronwyn the night before. And then they start talking about the story that she told about that dog attack and how, and just how it all transpired. Bronwyn told the ladies that she actually called her husband Todd right after the attack, but he didn't answer. So she called his assistant and had her go and get him out of a meeting. She told the assistant, I'm going to the ER. I think I'm losing my leg. So you need to get Todd out of this meeting. And then he called her back and said, I feel like it's just a scratch. It's going to be fine. And it was only after her daughter FaceTimed Todd from the hospital to show him all of the wounds all over her mother's body that he actually understood the gravity of what happened. I mean, I just think that this guy has absolutely zero emotional depth. He is so like emotionally constipated. He is just, you can see it. You can see it in the way he talks to her, the way he moves, the way he engages. Heather says, Lisa always sold their relationship to me like he was obsessed with her, but honestly, it feels like he's mean to her. He dismisses her. And then they flash back to previous scenes where Todd is being a little mean and a little dismissive. Heather says that she can relate and talks about how her husband was kind of the same way. And it makes Heather realize that maybe Bronwyn has a lot more on her plate than she originally thought she had. And everyone is put off by the story that Bronwyn told, because those gashes on her, that dog attack was serious. I mean, that was not just a little nibble. I mean, she looks to me like she got mauled by a dog, and that's traumatic. I really like Bronwyn. I really do. I think she has a lot of personal healing to do, but I think that inside she is a wonderful human. There's something something I really like about her. Then it's time for the girls to board the boat that Lisa has rented for them for the day. And in the bus on the way to the harbor, Meredith says that she didn't sleep very well and she curls up for a nap. And then Brittany tells the girls that she actually last night, because remember, she's sharing a room with Meredith. She tells everyone that she woke up to the sound of Meredith vomiting and crying last night, right? So then the girls get off the bus and everyone is towering. I mean, Meredith, you guys, firstly, they're in Mexico, which, you know, I mean, especially walking down to the harbor in Mexico, the streets are not the easiest to walk on. And Meredith, who isn't feeling well, right, decides still that she's going to wear, like, I swear to you, 5-inch stilettos, not wedges, stilettos. So have fun with that. And honestly, you can't even wear shoes, any shoes. You can't even wear flip-flops on a boat. So like you take your shoes off before you even step onto the boat. So she was very concerned that we all saw her go from the bus to the boat in those shoes. But really, she just looked like a drunk giraffe. Then the girls get the party started with drinks and a dance contest, you guys. And my God, was it sad. Bronwyn tells everybody to do their best Madonna and she'll be the judge. And what came next, everybody, was some of the saddest shit I've ever seen. Some of the saddest shit I've ever seen. I mean, talk about a group with no rhythm. I mean, I think you could put them all together and they still don't, there's zero, there's like less. They are in the negative numbers, you guys. My God, it was embarrassing. All of them. Honestly, I feel like to call them bad dancers would be a compliment. Then the girls settle in and Lisa tells everyone about how her son Henry has been adjusting since his big brother went away on his mission. He was originally really depressed and kind of withdrawn, and now he's really engaging back in life. And they're having a good time with Henry and they're feeling really positive about the direction that they're heading. And then Brittany pipes up. That Brittany, you guys, what is she? That is another one that's just too much for me. She says, you know, I feel like this is so unsupportive, you guys. I just gave you a story about Olivia last night and it was like a really big deal. And it was like crickets. And everyone is like looking at her like, what the fuck are you talking about? Lisa goes, wait, what? And she says, yeah, last night I made an announcement. I went, ding, ding. My daughter is finally talking to me after 6 months. And it was literally like crickets. This group just isn't very supportive of me. I give you guys good news about Jared and me and my daughter. And it just feels like none of you are supportive of the good things in my life. Then Bronwyn says, but do you like the idea of telling us that you have an announcement, or do you actually like the idea of seeing your daughter? Which then prompts Bronwyn to call Brittany a fucking bitch. Which then prompts Bronwyn to think that Lisa was supposed to stick up for her or defend her, or scold Brittany because they've been friends for 10 years, something like this, which I really didn't understand. I mean, I really didn't. It just seems strange to me that Bronwyn can very clearly handle herself in like any situation and then expects Lisa to come riding in on her white horse after somebody calls her a name. It was just, I don't know, it was weird. And then suddenly this became about much more. Bronwyn says, you know, Lisa, we've been friends for 10 years and you let everyone call me a gold digger, not a girl's girl, a trophy wife. And she had all of these labels, derogatory labels that people have called her since she started. And she says, and in this group, I feel vulnerable and alone. And I've told you that. I've expressed that to you. Then she says, has anyone asked a question about me? Everyone's only ever made assumptions about me and no one's taken any time to really get to know me. Has anyone asked me about the real shit that I've been going through with Todd, like navigating the infidelities of our situation? And everyone's mouth just dropped, you guys. Like literally the entire scene froze. And Angie, you know, that dingling Brittany, you can see her open her mouth to say something. And Angie goes, shh. It's silent for a minute. And then Whitney says, how did you find out? So Bronwyn says that they were on vacation. Todd was texting on an iPad and her daughter walked over to say something to him and she saw the text thread. And then she went and told Bronwyn. Then Bronwyn goes on to explain that this was a really hard time for her. And she's trying to relate to the women at this point. Bronwyn goes on to say that I go through the same hardships as everyone else. I cry like everyone else. I bleed like everyone else. And I'm open to them knowing me on that level if they're open to it. They ask her if Todd admitted to it. And then she tells them that that motherfucker called it his fatal flaw. His fatal flaw, you guys. And he compared it to business. He says, you know, this is just my fatal flaw. It's the same way I am in business. I'm always wanting the next deal, the better deal, the bigger deal. And it just carries into my home life as well. Hello, what? Bronwyn says, it's not his fault. That's just the way he is. And I'm thinking, excuse me, that's just the way he is? Bronwyn says that Todd works 3,000 miles away from her 5 days a week and that she always has a lump in the back of her throat. And she's always worried about whether or not she's actually good enough for him. And so she's constantly striving to be her very best and show up for him in every way possible because there's always that threat looming. And she feels the same way with this group of women. And at this point, Bronwyn is being as raw and authentic and vulnerable as truthfully I think I've ever seen any housewife on any franchise ever. And I am very much officially a huge Bronwyn fan. Even though her fashion and her earrings still drive me crazy, I feel like I understand it more now, and I love her as a human. Heather gives Bronwyn her props and tells her that she deserves to be fully happy today, and she hopes that she knows that, which was sweet because you could really see that Heather was having some empathy for Bronwyn, which is the first time since, the season started. Then the fact that Bronwyn's being so open and vulnerable makes the other women get open and vulnerable, and they all start kind of sharing, stuff that they wouldn't have normally shared if Bronwyn hadn't created that space for it. Then the party is over, and when the girls leave the boat and are walking back to the bus, Lisa turns to Angie and says, when Todd sees this, he's going to lose his mind. The girls get back, they have lunch, and they debrief. And in one of the villas, Meredith tells the girls that she wasn't really feeling very well on the boat. And in the other, Bronwyn talks to Heather, Whitney, and Angie about how weird Meredith and Lisa's reaction to her divulging Todd's infidelity was, because when they were on that boat, they were kind of like making excuses for him, like maybe you're closed off. And so, it was unbelievable. Bronwyn goes on to say that Lisa was also weird in dealing with that whole situation with Gwen's grandparents. And then we get the big arrival of Mary Cosby, everybody wearing a mask outside, and she didn't get here when everybody else did because she was busy finding a treatment center for her son. Everybody is super excited to see Mary, and Mary is so excited to see Angie, and it is so sweet because the two of them really do seem to have a sweet relationship, and it's nice to see Mary have someone that she can open up to, because she's always just been so closed off and so defensive with everybody, but she's really found a soft spot in Angie. So that's sweet. Then the girls all get ready and go to dinner. Mary orders a pastrami soup, or at least that's what she thought she ordered. Then Brittany brings up the fact that she heard Meredith crying last night. And Meredith says, yes, I was upset last night and I cried and I feel better now. And Bronwyn pushes the issue and says, well, it really must have been something because it got to me way over in the other villa. Meredith says, I didn't throw up, but I did cry because I thought about the slut shaming. She thought about the slut shaming. She had just let it go, right? But now she's ruminating on the slut shaming again. Then Angie and Lisa get into it again. Angie asks Lisa if she thinks she's the boss, and Lisa's totally taken back by that. And then Whitney chimes in about Lisa, and Lisa says back to her, oh, please, you're not a victim. You're just a lying bitch. Everyone is airing their complaints to Lisa, and she is getting super, super defensive. And she says, I've always been a good friend to you, Bronwyn. Bronwyn says, I just let you know that what I've been going through in my marriage, and you didn't even say I'm sorry or offer any support. And honestly, what you did say made it sound like you didn't believe me, or you didn't give a fuck, or that you wanted to stand up for Todd more than you did for me. Angie says, Bronwyn's been tough on the exterior, but she just exposed more than most people ever have. She says, Lisa, I just met her and I learned more about her marriage in 1 hour than I've ever learned about your entire life. And Lisa goes, what? And Lisa, and she is so confused, you guys. What? And then she goes from what to fully just breaking down at the table. She breaks down crying. She stands up, she walks away, and she says, I'm going home. And that's where it ended. But it's clear that she didn't go home because in the previews for next week, she's still there. And now it's time, everybody, for my personal favorite, the show starts with Miss Pat arranging her big Easter extravaganza and Shep introducing us to his new sweetie, little Miss Bahamas, who he met on a dating app. And we know Shep loves a dating app because he asked my oldest daughter out on a date via a dating app, but I digress. We also meet Taylor's new dude, Gaston. The two of them go and play some pickleball, and Taylor assures us that he is nothing like Shep. And then Shep assures us that Taylor's entire family wishes that they were still together. And at this point, it's very clear that the two of them have not only moved on, but it's very clear that moving on was the right thing to do. Then we go to JT's new B&B with his mom and his sister. JT says he doesn't identify as rich, but he's doing very well. While he's showing them the new property, he goes on to tell them what he did or what happened with Miss Pat and the fact that he gave her that cane. Remember that? His mother asked him point blank, why would you do that? She says, you never give a woman a cane. And he goes, and get this, he goes, even if you have one yourself and you almost got killed, everything is about this JT guy, everything. And they say, yeah, even if. And then his mother says, the only thing that you should have handed her was a martini. And once again, mother knows best. Then we're at the new girl's house, Miss Molly. We learn that she was adopted by two attorneys who turned out to be the best parents in the world that she could ever ask for. And she plays the miniature tuba, which personally I didn't even know existed. Over at Madison's, we learned that Brett has been dealing with thyroid cancer. And that's why they've put the whole baby making process on hold. And I just have to say, I love Madison. I really think I think she's great on the show. I think she's a cool chick. I really dig her. Then we're hitting golf balls in a virtual golf range with Craig, Shep, and JT. And because Austin's not around, it gives JT the perfect opportunity to inquire about whether or not his apology efforts at the Carolina Cup moved the needle with Austin, right? The guys say, yeah, what you did was cool. Now let's, move on. And JT says, but here's the really weird thing I want to talk about. Madison invited me to her event, but she didn't even talk to me. Isn't that weird? And he goes, and they're like, yeah, that's weird. And then he goes, but then I remembered something. And then he goes on to imply, or actually, he basically said it. He goes, Madison was wearing my striped shirt when we were on vacation. And I think now Brett thinks that we hooked up. And so that's why she's being weird with me. And the guys are like, no, nobody thinks that you hooked up with Madison. No one here. Brett doesn't think you hooked up with Madison. No one. And the guys honestly think he's nuts. He goes, and here's what else is weird. Did you notice that Madison and Austin were wearing polka dots at the Carolina Cup? You guys don't think that's weird? And they're like, no, dude, you're reaching. And he goes, and honestly, can you guys even believe I extended that olive branch, given the fact that Austin's doing the same thing this year that he was doing last year? He goes, Leva tells me that he's been hooking up with a lot of chicks. Shep goes, that's just not true. Austin and his girlfriend are doing great. Whatever Leva's saying is wrong. And then that little leprechaun says, well, then we need to address that with Leva and tell her to stop. He is like the social police. Craig tells him that he needs to stop and that what's going on with Austin and his girlfriend is none of his business. Craig goes, bring it up again and you won't see me. Shep goes, what's wrong with you, JT? Craig goes, if this happens again, I'm out of here. And then 5 seconds later, he said something else and Craig goes, that's it, I'm out. Then Austin goes over to Craig's a few days later and Craig gives him the full lowdown on everything that little ding-a-ling JT said while they were golfing. Austin is shocked, but not shocked. And then we see Vanita go over to JT's new apartment. And Vanita, who I adore, has absolutely no voice, but no worries because, JT will do all the talking. And while he's talking, he gives her the whole lowdown on his theory about Brett and Madison and what Brett thinks and how Brett's threatened by him. So ridiculous. I'm telling you, the dude is delusional. Vanita, for her part, loves the apartment, but hates that he's so far away now. And you can tell that these two have really created some kind of quasi relationship because she really was bummed. She goes, now what's going to happen to our breakfast dates? And he's like, I promise I'll be there. Back at Craig's, he goes on to tell Austin that JT also believed that him and Madison's matching polka dots were actually planned because paranoia. And then it's time for the Easter extravaganza, which JT is not invited to, thank the Lord. Whitney is there, Craig, Shep, Miss Pat's friend arrives, and we have not, I looked at a shot of them all in that room that we've seen them gather in so many times, and I just couldn't help but think of them like when this show started, and they looked so much older than they did then. I mean, they're like full-fledged adults at this point. Then Miss Molly arrives. She still looks young, and so does Madison, who shows up next. They weren't all together very long before the whole JT situation came up with the cane, and Miss Pat at this point still can't believe that JT did that. Then Craig drops a big bomb and announces that not only did he screw up by handing her the cane, but that he actually went on to call her a bitch. A bitch. And Whitney says, the fact that he impugned my mother, all bets are off. He can go fuck himself. Craig says, yeah, he said that when we were at indoor golf, but Shep, at least for his part, did speak up and say, I actually didn't hear those words come out of his mouth. Shep wonders if maybe Craig is bending the truth, and then they rewind and show us all the times that Craig has indeed bent the truth. And then Craig goes on to drop the big bomb and explains JT's theory about Brett and Madison and him and everything that he's been telling everybody else. And Madison is absolutely dumbfounded. She's like, hold on, what? You're telling me that that little leprechaun thinks or is telling people that my husband is upset because he thinks that I had an affair with JT? And Madison is hot. And Austin is sitting on the couch just loving every word that he is hearing. Austin's like, I don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so. Everybody then gathers around the table. Whitney asks someone to say grace, and Shep pipes up and he tries to say something eloquent, but it quickly takes a hard left and something about Pontius Pilate. Molly tells Shep that she's recently gained a bunch of weight because of medical problems. And right after that, it's time for dessert, you guys. And as Molly bites into her cupcake, Whitney says, Molly, that's really the last thing that you need to be eating. And Molly goes, he just called me fat. Miss Pat says, Whitney, shame on you. And Whitney says, Mom, I've known this girl for 10 years. I can say what I want, and I'm not calling her fat. And then to camera, Molly says, Whitney knows full well that I have an unhealthy relationship with food. And once again, we realize why Whitney is still single, because he's an idiotic man-child. Anyway, you guys, that about does it for this episode of Generally Speaking. But before I go, I just want to wish you all the happiest of holidays and the merriest of Christmas. I always get emotional at this part talking about Christmas because I just feel so, so blessed that I get to be here to experience another one. Now, after this alien invasion, I'm not sure we'll be here next year, but even if we're not, what a wonderful ride it's been. I feel so blessed to have lived the life, to have the life that I have. And I hope you feel the same way. And I was thinking a lot about Christmas and how so often you hear around this time, you know, Christmas just isn't what it used to be. I wish, you know, Christmas felt the way it did. And I think so much of how we felt about Christmas when we were younger is because, you know, when you're younger, you're more connected to more people. And as we age, we kind of, you know, shit happens and life happens. And I think that what we're really craving when we say we miss Christmas the way it used to be, I think what we're missing is the connection. And with the world so fractured today, we all find it so easy to say, oh no, I'm in this lane, I'm over here, and to allow that distance to seep in and separate us. So my wish for you and my charge for you is to just blow that space out, like focus on connection, put politics aside, put old grievances aside, put grudges aside, and get in touch with the people that you love. Get in touch with the people that you've loved throughout your life. Find that connection, because I'm telling you, when you feel connected, everything feels better. Lay down the grudges, set aside the grievances, and just connect, because I promise you, that is where the magic is. There is so much magic and so much power in human connection. And that's what we're all craving. That is the stuff that nourishes the spirit. It doesn't nourish the spirit to say, oh, you're fucked up and I'm going to stay over here and I'm not going to talk to you. That doesn't help anyone, right? So do yourself a solid, you guys, and put aside all that stuff and really, you know, stay grounded in gratitude. And like I say all the time, rooted in love. Christmas is about celebrating the birth of Jesus. But the birth of Jesus, like all of it, it's all about love, you guys. That's what it's all about, right? So let the birth of Jesus be like the birth of love, right? Because that's what this lesson, that's what this life is all about, understanding the power of love and connection and finding strength and nourishment in that togetherness. Anyway, you guys, this has been such a joy. I have loved spending this time with you. I'm now going to go shop and, dodge the aliens. But I wish you guys the very best. I hope you have the time of your lives with your family and your friends. And hey, do me a favor. If you know anything about what's happening with the drones, drop it in the comments, you guys. We need to continue this conversation, because it is, truthfully, nothing has interested me more than this. I'm here for it. Beam me up, Scotty. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for being here. Once again, if you've been watching this on YouTube, please make sure you reach out and smash that subscribe button. If you've been listening on your favorite streaming platform, please make sure you give us a follow, give us a 5-star rating, leave a message. We would love that. If you'd like to collaborate or have a question you'd like answered on the pod, you can reach me at jennifer@jennifersnook.com. If you'd like to follow me on socials, you can find me on TikTok at This Is Generally Speaking, or on Instagram at The Jennifer Snook. And if you would like to get your hands on any of this adorable Generally Speaking merch, I will leave the link down below. All right, everybody, Merry Christmas and a big ho, ho, ho to you and yours. And until we're together again, everybody, stay rooted in love. Merry Christmas, everybody. See you next time.